In Zimbabwe, there's a mountain where people vanish into thin air. Not metaphorically, not occasionally, but so frequently that locals have given it a chilling nickname, the Swallowing Mountain. Now, most people hear about mysterious disappearances and immediately think of the Bermuda Triangle, that infamous stretch of ocean where planes and ships allegedly vanish without explanation. The conventional belief is that if you want to encounter unexplained disappearances, you need to venture into the Atlantic Ocean, into that well-documented triangle of mystery. But here's what they're not telling you. There's a place in Africa, standing 2,592 meters above sea level, where the disappearance rate is so disturbing, so consistent, that even the Bermuda Triangle should be taking notes. And unlike the Bermuda Triangle, where you can simply avoid flying or sailing through that area, this is a mountain, a physical landmark, a place where your compass stops working, your electronics malfunction, and according to dozens of witnesses, time itself doesn't function normally. In this video, I'm going to take you through 5 documented cases that will make you question everything you think you know about missing persons. I'll show you why the most technologically advanced search and rescue operations have failed, why tribal elders refuse to let outsiders climb without permission, and most disturbingly, what happens to those who do come back. And the proof. In 2014, a 31-year-old tourist named Zayd Dada vanished on this mountain. The National Army, Air Force, police, professional hunters, infrared scanners, and 3D satellite mapping technology were deployed. They searched every route, every crevice, every possible hiding spot. They found absolutely nothing. Not a piece of clothing, not a footprint, nothing. But before we get to that case, let me tell you about the 3 people who disappeared for 4 days, and when they came back, they swore only a few hours had passed. But first, have you ever experienced something you couldn't explain? A moment where time felt wrong? Drop a comment below, because after hearing these stories, you might realize you're not alone. Let me set the scene for you. Mount Nyangani sits in Nyangani National Park, and it's not just the highest point in Zimbabwe, it's considered sacred ground. For centuries, tribal communities have passed down warnings about this place, and here's where it gets interesting. These aren't vague superstitions. These are specific, detailed rules. The locals say that Mount Nyangani is inhabited by the spirits of their ancestors. Now, before you roll your eyes and click away, stay with me, because whether you believe in spirits or not, something is happening on this mountain that defies conventional explanation. According to tradition, the mountain is also home to what they call wild ghosts, vengeful spirits with unfinished business. And the locals have developed an entire protocol for climbing this mountain safely. Break these rules, you become another statistic. The rules of Mount Nyangani. Rule number 1. Never urinate on the mountain. I know it sounds absurd, but locals insist this act of disrespect will trigger the spirit's wrath. Rule number 2. No profanity. Not a single curse word. Imagine hiking a 2,592-meter mountain without letting out a single expletive when you're exhausted. Rule number 3. And this is specific. Do not wear red clothing. Red, they say, makes the spirits extremely uncomfortable, angry, even. Rule number 4. If you see a multicolored snake or a golden brick on your path, ignore it completely and walk away. These are allegedly deceptions created by malevolent entities to lure you off the safe path. And here's the rule that should concern you most. Never approach the sacred sites on the mountain. If you do, you'll be doomed to wander the forest indefinitely, unable to find your way out until the spirits are appeased through ritual sacrifice. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is just folklore, ancient superstition designed to keep people off dangerous terrain. And maybe you're right, but here's what you can't explain away with folklore. Modern tourists with GPS devices getting lost on clearly marked trails, compasses spinning wildly, pointing in random directions, electronic equipment, cameras, phones, watches, malfunctioning or breaking entirely, photos that refuse to display correctly when you try to view them later. Quick question for you. What's the strangest malfunction you've ever experienced with your electronics? Drop your story in the comments, because I'm collecting these experiences. But it gets weirder. Hikers report that the weather on Mount Nyangani is wrong. Fog doesn't just roll in. It appears suddenly and seems to follow people, like it's stalking them. Winds don't just blow. They howl with an intensity that sounds almost human. And then there are the sensory experiences. Experienced hikers who know these trails intimately, suddenly becoming disoriented, feeling dizzy or nauseous for no medical reason, hearing voices, whispers, strange sounds that have no source. One report describes trees that appeared to twist together to form human faces, streams that suddenly turned blood red without explanation. But you want to know the detail that keeps me up at night. It's not just the mountain. The area around Mount Nyangani is plagued by the same phenomena. When construction crews built the Osborne and Gokwe dams nearby, everything went wrong. Equipment malfunctioned constantly. Accidents happened with disturbing frequency. The weather turned hostile, and construction workers, they started disappearing, not quitting, not walking off the job, disappearing, without a trace. The tension got so bad that workers refused to return, until tribal elders performed special rituals to appease what the locals call mermaids, water spirits angry about the desecration of their river. You think construction workers, practical, hard-working people, would refuse to work for supernatural reasons? Something terrified them enough to walk away from their paychecks. In 1981, everything changed for a man named Tikandepi Messiah. He was a government official, respected, connected, with resources most Zimbabweans didn't have. But none of that mattered when his two daughters went to Mount Nyangani. They never came home. An extensive search was launched. And I mean extensive. We're talking about the family of a government official. Every resource was deployed. Search parties combed the mountain for days. They found nothing, not a shred of clothing, not a footprint, not a single clue. The two girls had vanished, as if they'd never existed. To this day, their disappearance remains completely unexplained. No bodies were ever recovered. No evidence of what happened was ever found. The case remains open, cold, and absolutely baffling. Let me ask you something. How does a modern search party, equipped with trained personnel and government resources, fail to find any trace of two children on a mountain? Where did they go? Drop your theories below, because this case has haunted Zimbabwe for over 40 years. But the children of Mount Nyangani weren't done being taken. A few years later, a 12-year-old student named Robert Ackhurst went on a field trip to the mountain. It should have been a routine educational experience. Kids learning about nature, geography, maybe some local history. Robert got separated from the group. It happens, right? Kids wander off. They get distracted. Someone calls their name. They turn around, and within minutes they're lost. Except Robert was never found. The search parties found nothing. His classmates never saw him again. His family never got closure. But here's the detail that breaks my heart. Robert's teacher was so devastated by losing his student that he committed suicide the following year. The guilt, the trauma, the impossible question of what happened to Robert became too much to bear. Think about that. A teacher so haunted by a child's disappearance that he took his own life. That's not just tragedy. That's the kind of psychological weight that comes from witnessing something that fundamentally doesn't make sense. Now, before we move on to the most famous case, I need you to understand something. These aren't isolated incidents. These are the documented, publicized cases, the ones involving government officials and school groups, where records were kept and searches were conducted. How many other people have vanished on Mount Nyangani without making the news? How many locals? How many solo hikers? How many people who simply went for a walk and never came back? The locals will tell you many, many more than anyone wants to admit. Here's my question for you. Would you climb Mount Nyangani? Knowing what you know now, if someone offered you a trip to the highest point in Zimbabwe, would you go? Yes or no? Comment below. I'm genuinely curious who among you is brave enough or foolish enough to take that risk. January 4th, 2014. Early morning. A 31-year-old Indian tourist named Zayd Dada decides to climb Mount Nyangani with his wife and another couple. It's supposed to be a beautiful day trip, a chance to see Zimbabwe's highest peak, take some photos, enjoy the view. Halfway up the mountain, Dada tells the group he wants to enjoy the scenery alone for a bit. They're tired anyway, so they decide to rest while Dada wanders off to take in the view. He never comes back. At first his companions aren't worried. Maybe he went further than he planned. Maybe he's taking his time. But minutes turn into an hour. They start calling his name, searching the immediate area. Nothing. They notify the authorities. What happens next is one of the most extensive search operations in Zimbabwean history. This isn't a small local search party. The National Army mobilizes. The Air Force gets involved. The police commit significant resources. Professional hunters, people who track animals for a living, who can follow trails invisible to the rest of us, join the search. Volunteers pour in from surrounding communities. And here's where it gets technological. They deploy 3D satellite mapping, infrared scanners capable of detecting body heat through dense vegetation. Every single route up the mountain is systematically searched. Let me repeat that. Infrared scanners, technology that can detect a living person by their body heat signature. Technology that can find someone hiding in complete darkness, under thick brush, in terrain where visual searches fail. They found nothing. Not a heat signature, not a piece of clothing, not a disturbed bush or broken branch, not a single indication that Zayd Dada had ever been on that mountain. Think about what I just told you. A human being, weighing approximately 70-80 kilograms, wearing clothes, carrying supplies, walking on dirt and vegetation, leaves zero physical evidence, zero thermal signature, zero trace. How? I need your input here. You're a search and rescue expert. You have infrared technology. You have 3D satellite maps. You have helicopters, trained soldiers, professional trackers. You're searching a defined area, a mountain, not the open ocean. How does a person vanish so completely that you find absolutely nothing? Comment your explanation, because I genuinely want to understand how this is physically possible. The case of Zayd Dada remains unsolved. His body was never recovered. His family never got closure. And every single person involved in that search operation left with the same haunting question: where did he go? But here's what really disturbs me. Zayd Dada wasn't the last. In November 2014, just 10 months after Dada's disappearance, a 20-year-old British tourist named Thomas Gaisford decided to climb Mount Nyangani alone. Now Gaisford was determined, confident. He wanted to reach the summit by himself. Around 3 p.m., he noticed thick fog descending on the mountain, not rolling in gradually, descending, like a curtain being pulled down around him. He describes it as feeling like the fog wanted to drown him. Disoriented, unable to see more than a few meters ahead, Gaisford made the smart decision. He set up camp, pitched his tent, decided to wait out the weather, and then night fell. In his own words, this is what Thomas Gaisford experienced. He prayed, then he tried to sleep. For about 10 hours, he drifted in and out of consciousness. But he wasn't alone. Animals began circling his tent, not approaching, not attacking, circling and staring. Without blinking, he could see their eyes in the darkness, fixed on him with an intensity that felt. Snakes approached. He didn't provoke them, he didn't move, he just watched as they came close, observed him, and left. And then, there were the eyes, bloodshot eyes, staring at him from the darkness, eyes that didn't belong to any animal he recognized. In his journal, which thankfully was recovered, Gaisford wrote, "Those guests wanted to measure my nerves." Pause right there. Those guests wanted to measure his nerves. That's not the language of someone describing random wildlife. That's the language of someone who felt he was being tested, evaluated, judged. Gaisford was convinced that something on that mountain was determining whether he was worthy of leaving. When the fog cleared the next morning, he climbed down as fast as he could. Unlike Zayd Dada, Thomas Gaisford escaped Mount Nyangani, but his account raises a terrifying possibility. What if Dada experienced the same thing? What if he failed whatever test those guests were administering? Question for the comments. Do you think those eyes Gaisford saw were animals, or something else? And what do you think happens to people who fail the mountain's test? Let me know below. Now, everything I've told you so far is disturbing. People vanishing, advanced technology failing, strange creatures watching hikers in the night. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for this next case. Because this isn't about people disappearing. This is about people who disappeared and came back wrong. Early 1980s. A high-ranking government official goes on a picnic at Mount Nyangani with 2 companions. It's supposed to be relaxing, a chance to enjoy nature. All 3 of them vanish. For 4 days, search parties comb the mountain. For 4 days, family members pray for their return. For 4 days, the 3 missing people are simply gone. And then suddenly, they reappear. When they're found, they're confused, disoriented, but physically, they're fine, not dehydrated, not starving, not exhausted, which makes no sense. You can't survive 4 days in the wilderness without water and not show symptoms of severe dehydration. You can't go 4 days without food and not feel hungry. You can't wander through rough terrain for 4 days and not feel tired. But here's where it gets absolutely bizarre. According to their testimony, they did wander hopelessly for what they experienced as their entire missing period. But they never felt tired, never felt thirsty, never felt hungry, and stranger still, they saw the search parties. They saw people calling for them, looking for them. They tried to signal back. They tried to call out for help. Nothing worked. It was as if they were invisible, as if they existed in the same physical space, but in a completely different dimension, reality. I don't even know what to call it. They could see us, but we couldn't see them. They could hear us calling, but they couldn't respond, no matter how hard they tried. Let that sink in for a moment. Imagine being lost, watching people search for you, screaming for help, waving your arms, and being completely undetectable. That's not just getting lost. That's being trapped in some kind of parallel experience. Eventually, tribal elders were brought in. They performed sacrifice ceremonies, rituals to appease the unjust spirits on the mountain. And only after these ceremonies were completed did the three missing people suddenly become visible again, suddenly findable. And when they were asked how long they thought they'd been missing, all three gave the same answer: a few hours, maybe half a day at most. Not 4 days, a few hours. Time itself had malfunctioned for these three people. 4 days in our reality, a few hours in theirs. This is where I need your thoughts. What could possibly cause three people to experience time differently from the rest of reality? Is this a psychological phenomenon, a shared hallucination, or did something on Mount Nyangani actually trap them in an altered temporal state? Drop your theories below, because science doesn't have an answer for this one. So, we've covered the cases. We've heard the testimonies. We've seen how advanced technology fails on this mountain. Now let's talk about the explanations. Theory #1. It's just folklore and dangerous terrain. The skeptical explanation is the simplest. Mount Nyangani is a dangerous mountain with rugged terrain, unpredictable weather, and dense vegetation. People get lost because it's easy to get lost. They die of exposure. Their bodies are hidden by the landscape, and the supernatural elements are just cultural interpretations of natural phenomena. Compasses malfunction, probably magnetic anomalies in the rock. Electronics break, high altitude and moisture, fog that follows you, confirmation bias, and the chaotic nature of mountain weather. It's neat, it's rational, and honestly, for some of the cases, this explanation probably fits. But here's what it doesn't explain: the infrared scanner failure. Body heat is body heat. If Zayd Dada died on that mountain, his body would have emitted a thermal signature for hours, potentially days depending on environmental conditions. Professional hunters can track animals for miles through dense vegetation. The National Army knows how to conduct search operations, and yet nothing. Theory #2. Magnetic or geological anomalies. Some researchers have suggested that Mount Nyangani might sit on top of unusual geological formations that create magnetic anomalies. These could interfere with compasses, electronic equipment, and even potentially affect human perception and cognition. There are places on Earth where strong magnetic fields do cause unusual phenomena. The Oregon Vortex in the United States, for example, is a place where strange optical illusions and gravitational anomalies occur. Could Mount Nyangani have similar properties? Possibly. It would explain the compass failures and electronic malfunctions, but it doesn't explain people vanishing without a trace. Magnetic fields don't make bodies invisible to infrared scanners. They don't cause shared temporal anomalies. Theory #3. The spiritual explanation. The local tribes have maintained the same explanation for centuries. Mount Nyangani is inhabited by spirits. These spirits guard the mountain, and those who disrespect the sacred protocols are punished. In the case of the three people who experienced the time anomaly, the locals have a clear explanation. They were imprisoned by evil spirits in a space that ordinary people cannot see. The spirits held them in a kind of liminal state until proper rituals were performed. For a Western scientific mindset, this is easy to dismiss. But here's what you can't dismiss: the consistency, generation after generation. The stories remain the same, the warnings remain the same, and the disappearances keep happening. When tribal elders perform their rituals and missing people are suddenly found, is that coincidence? Is that confirmation bias? Or is there something we don't understand happening? Theory #4. The extraterrestrial hypothesis. Here's where it gets really wild. On the US TV program Stargate, researchers revealed something shocking. According to their investigation, Mount Nyangani is one of 4 alleged alien military bases on Earth. Now before you laugh, consider what we know. Unexplained disappearances, technology failures, time anomalies, strange lights in the sky, craft or beings that defy conventional explanation. Sound familiar? These are the exact phenomena associated with alleged alien encounters and abductions worldwide. If Mount Nyangani is some kind of extraterrestrial site, whether a base, a portal, or an area of unusual dimensional activity, it would explain almost everything. The missing people, the technological failures, the time distortions, even the spirits that locals describe, could be alien entities. Is it provable? No. Is it more far-fetched than spirits? Debatable. But it's on the table. Here's what I want from you. Which theory do you believe? Option 1. Dangerous terrain and folklore. Option 2. Magnetic anomalies. Option 3. Spiritual guardians. Option 4. Alien base. Comment below with your theory and why you think it's the most plausible. So here we are, Mount Nyangani, the swallowing mountain. A place where compasses spin, electronics die, and people vanish into thin air. Whether you believe in spirits, extraterrestrials, magnetic anomalies, or simply the harsh reality of dangerous terrain, one thing is undeniable. Something is happening on this mountain that we cannot fully explain. Zayd Dada's family never got closure. Robert Ackhurst's teacher couldn't live with the guilt. The 2 daughters of Tichendepi Messiah are still missing after more than 40 years. Thomas Gaisford escaped, but the memory of those bloodshot eyes will haunt him forever. And the 3 people who experienced 4 days as a few hours, they came back changed, questioning everything they thought they understood about reality. The locals have been right about one thing. Mount Nyangani demands respect. Whether that respect is for spiritual entities, for the raw power of nature, or for phenomena we simply don't understand yet, it doesn't matter. The mountain has earned its fearsome reputation. My final question to you is this. Knowing everything you know now, if you were in Zimbabwe, if you had the opportunity, would you climb Mount Nyangani? Would you follow every rule that tribal elders give you? Would you avoid wearing red, avoid profanity, avoid the sacred sites? Would you turn back if you saw a multicolored snake or a golden brick? Or would you ignore the warnings, confident in your modern understanding of the world, convinced that there's a rational explanation for everything? Because here's the thing, everyone who disappeared probably thought they'd be fine too. Tichendepi Messiah's daughters were just out for a day on the mountain. Robert Ackhurst was on a supervised school trip. Zayd Dada was with his wife and friends. None of them thought they'd become statistics. None of them thought they'd be the next person to vanish without a trace. But they did. Drop your answer in the comments. Would you climb? Yes or no? And tell me why. Before you go, if this story gave you chills, hit that like button. If you want more mysterious disappearances, unexplained phenomena, and cases that will make you question reality, subscribe and turn on notifications, because we're just getting started. And if you know anyone who's been to Mount Nyangani, anyone who's experienced something they couldn't explain on that mountain or anywhere else, share their story in the comments. I read every single one, and your experiences might be featured in future videos. The mountain is still there, the spirits, or whatever they are, are still there, and people are still climbing, still taking risks, still disappearing. Mount Nyangani has earned its nickname, the Swallowing Mountain, a place where people go and don't return, a place where the line between our reality and something else becomes dangerously thin. So be careful what mountains you climb, because some places on Earth don't want visitors, and some places will make sure you never leave. Final question: what time is it where you are right now? Drop it in the comments. I'm curious to see when and where this video is reaching people around the world. Are you watching this at midnight, alone in the dark, or in broad daylight, trying to convince yourself these are just stories? Thanks for watching, stay safe, and remember, not all mountains are meant to be conquered.